Hello, I am Bentham and welcome back to Factorio Railworld, where we are in the midpoint base. We've just set up some basic production. We've got iron, copper, gears and circuits, and we're going to carry on from there. The next thing on the list is steel, and we have some iron ore coming in, so what we're going to do is have that go straight from between iron ore into iron and then into steel. So we're going to set up a special column of furnaces for that. Now we're just going to put it right alongside the iron. We'll just mess about with the substations, get the positioning right. There's not actually that much room between them, because if you do a normal column for smelting iron, or at least the columns that I normally use, then it doesn't actually quite fit some connected power poles. Each individual column isn't connected, and I get the positioning wrong to start with. Work it out and shift it over by one. And there we have an autosave, and we're going to start putting in the belts. So I go and check up on the belts, and I realise that we're actually out of blue belts, except for a couple that I have in my inventory, so it looks like we're actually going to have to go and get some more, but we're not going to go ourselves. Last time we went, we did some messing about with the mini train stuff to try and get that working properly, so what we're going to do is send it off, and it should come back with hopefully 10 whole stacks of blue belts, or somewhere approaching that. It may be that we don't get quite as many because it takes time to craft them and so on and so forth. And seeing as we're sending a train back, we're going to load it with a bunch of wood. Send that all back to fuel the backup power system in case that has to kick in. It probably doesn't now because the main base is quite calm and quiet at the moment as far as I know. Maybe it's gone horribly wrong while I've been away, as has happened multiple times before, but we send off the train to do its loading and its unloading, and we get back on with business. This just slows down because I was going to put in a blue belt connecting this connecting the steel up to the main line, so for now we'll not actually connect it, but we'll get ready for the train to come back and carry on with what we can be doing. So we'll put all the modules that we can in. We'll have to go grab some more from the train. So we're starting to run out just a little bit of those. Well, we're starting to go into the train supply of it rather than our own, which isn't that much of a major thing. I don't know if there's that many more furnaces that we're going to be putting in really. So we probably have enough to be getting on with. And the way that I'm going to get this to fill either side of the belt is have a little bit of a system halfway along that shoves all of the steel to one side. That should work out fine. Maybe we'll put in a belt balancer as well, just to make sure that like the consumption doesn't mess it up or anything. But then what I do is I go over to the line and I start messing about with stuff, because I've decided that in order to keep it going in a nice straight line, the steel's going to come in between the circuits and the copper, so we'll move up the circuits by a bit. That means we also have to move up some what do you call them? Some chests, some provider chests and things, and the inserters leading into them. Not too much of a problem really, just a quick bit of messing about. We'll extend the power a little bit north, because we're going to keep expanding this way. We're going to start adding in all sorts of bits of production. And then I noticed I messed things up a bit. I accidentally had wood still unloading. I'd left the unloading inserter there, and it had started emptying into other trains. So there's up to 3 trains that could now have random bits of wood in the forward carriage, so we'll have to watch out for that for a while. And in the meantime, I'm going to do some messing about with the system. And move the chest slightly. I'm not sure how much of a use this was in the end. At the time it seemed to make a lot of sense, but looking back at it, it's slightly confusing. What I'm doing is I'm having 2 chests so that one of them can always be unloading, and then we have another one that's loading. The only thing about that is that if we're ever loading, we take out the unloading one anyway, meaning that we could just have one chest that we flip the inserter around of. But whatever, I've set it up now so that we have an inserter that extracts wood from any train that happens to come along, so that should it should at least deal with any accidental loadings of wood in the trains that we've got so far. They're also going absolutely mental delivering wood between the things, so I just leave them to it. Probably not very good for the power system, but as far as I know it holds up, so that's fine. And then we get the coal train coming along, unloading, everything seems fine there. Making sure that we're getting good supply. Slowly but surely the supply is filling up. Unfortunately, the train doesn't stay around very long to keep it to get the supply delivered in, and I'm going to keep it that way, because otherwise we might end up with a bit of a build-up of trains. It seems unlikely because we've only got 4 trains tops, and it's a very long line for them to travel along. But anyway, one of those 4 trains has just returned. The mini train has arrived, and we unload it and deconstruct it. We have to empty out a bit of the stuff just so that we have enough room to put the train in, and then we can carry on with setting up all of the various lines. So we get the output line, then we start the input one, and we're just going to siphon this off of the iron ore that we have so far. We may want to add in another yellow belt at some point to help with the supply, but at the moment there's not that much being produced, so it's probably fine. This factory will, I imagine, not usually be running very much. It'll have sudden fits and starts when the megatrain comes along to resupply and stuff like that, but apart from that it should be fine. So we don't need to worry too much about a really big supply of iron. Maybe we want a bit of a buffer system instead. That would make more sense considering its purpose. But anyway, I decided to mess about with the system because I've realised that we're misaligned by one. So if I switch what system I'm using to merge the steel belts, then it lines up perfectly. And then there we go. It goes along to the end and starts being loaded into a provided chest there. So that should the mega train need it, we can load it in. Though we need to set up that system first. We extend the line a little bit more, and then we go over to the mega train to start sorting out a bunch of requested chests for all sorts of different things that the midpoint base might provide. So I'm having a quick look through the various cargo wagons and things, working out what we need. And then I decided to just go wagon by wagon, working out what can be made by the factory, and then putting in enough requested chests for all that different stuff. So I just need a quick look through what is in each cargo wagon, and then a quick check of what you actually need to make each of them, see if we have those in supply, and work it out from there. I'm checking all the capsule stuff. Eventually I decided it's just too fiddly and I abandoned that for now. We'll work on that later. Any of the cargo wagons where there's just too much going on, we're just going to leave it and move on to the next one. This one here looks fairly simple. Some of the stuff is unique and most definitely can't be made here, such as the plastic and sulfur. And what I actually decided to do is have this unloading into provider chests. And I'll use smart inserters for that to make sure we don't unload all sorts of random stuff. And it means that it does give us the option to produce more complex items if we so desire. And I think we do have the materials necessary to make pretty much anything apart from stuff that involves lubricants, of course, because that needs well, you need to have that piped in, unless you were to have oil barrels arriving, and then you have the whole processing system for that. But that seems like a bit much of a faff, really. So we'll leave that. Move on to this one here. We've got engines, circuits and gears that we can provide, so we'll put three requested chests there for it. And the remaining two have like 20 different things that I may or may not be able to make, so I just decided to leave those for now, and we'll work it out when we get to it. Though while we're here, I think we'll sort out markers for it, or maybe not. We'll run up here and start setting up the first bits of requesting. So we'll request some coal to fuel the train itself, because it'll need a bit of that every now and then. We'll sort out the rails, which is probably going to be the main thing that this train needs to pick up, because usually I imagine what we'll be running out of is that. Though we might only need like one resupply to get us all the way back around to the other side of the lake and finished. It's hard to say at the moment, but we will need a resupply at some point, and we'll try and get that from the midpoint to make the midpoint have a point. Then we'll work on the raw materials. So far I haven't actually taken any out of the train. I probably never will, really, because it's sort of an emergency backup sort of thing. If I need to just manually craft something because we've run out of it, then I can grab the materials from that cargo wagon. And then we move on to the next one, and this one we can provide stone, raw stone, coal and wood. Even though most of that stuff is being delivered in anyway, it's good to be able to transfer it from the delivery trains over to the mega train, so the mega train itself doesn't have to go back to the main base and grab them there. We'll set up a little bit more in the way of the provider chest. I can't remember if I actually set those up to work as soon as I power them, but anyway, what we're also going to do is work out where exactly we can put chests for the remaining two cargo wagons, because there's so much going on with them. We just want to know what our limits are in terms of how many different things that we can have going in or out. So I use some inserters to work out which cargo wagon they come from, and then just use some wooden chests to mark how like where the boundary is between the two cargo wagons, and then we can work within those bounds. And we'll just leave that there, do a little bit of messing about with our inventory to try and clear it out, because as you can see, it's very full right now. We've got all sorts of stuff going on. All our usable supplies, plus a bunch of materials for building the midpoint base in the first place. Various different kinds of logistics chests as well. I think we've even got an active provider in there that I needed at some point, which is just taking up space right now. Really, I need to just put that in a chest somewhere and leave it, because I don't think I'll be using it very often. But let's get back to the main line, have a look at the situation over there. and start working on our first bits of production that will actually go into the train. I mean, we already have the raw materials going into the train, but we'll start going for some of the more specific stuff. So the first thing I'm going to work on is repair packs. They use gears and circuits. We'll just set it up right here, just after the production of those two things, using a very similar system to what we have in what we had in the No Crafting Challenge, where we have the assembler itself is indented into the production line, and thanks to underground belts going underground for 4 squares and inserters taking an assembler's taking up 3 squares, you've got enough room for an assembler to take off the thing that's gone underground, and then you can still get a long-armed inserter to get various different things off the lines on the other side. So even if we have things really inconveniently placed, like having gears and circuits on opposite sides, for example, we can still work it out using a bit of messing about with belts and inserters. So we've got the repair packs being made, we've got them being requested by the megatrain and also by the logistics system, so they'll be able to repair any damage by biters. The way it's set up means that it's just going to keep loading them until the roboport is full, and that's not ideal, but I can't be bothered trying to set up some more sort of sophisticated system that limits how much actually goes in. So so we'll leave it there. And then next we're going to work on rails. It's a little bit more fiddly. We use steel and then iron, but the iron needs to go through a stage of production first, and then we need to get raw stone in. So this is a bit fiddly, and I start working out what exactly I need to do to set it up. We start getting a steel line out, and then we'll work out where we can put the iron line. And we'll go resupply from the megatrain, get some various bits of belt equipment and so on. Because we've actually run out of underground blue belts. I think we might have ended up with an odd number, which we seem to be having a lot recently. I may be wrong about that, I'm not sure. But we start having trouble with our inventory being full, as was fairly inevitable. So I just quickly dump down a wooden chest and get rid of a bunch of stuff that I don't really need right now. All sorts of random things in there. There's even a tank. I don't even know why I'm still carrying a tank. I haven't used a tank in a good long while. Pretty much since I started the journey of the megatrain, which is getting to be a long time ago now. Time really seems to move on quickly with this. It's been like 10 episodes since we started this whole journey. But I've got sort of very much wrapped up with sorting out this this new outpost and all that sort of thing. We haven't actually done any work on the rail line itself for a while now. Which is fine by me, because you know, building a factory is always a more interesting thing than just laying an endless line of rails. So we're working out how we're going to position the rail production for when we do get back on the case, and it's going to involve. I'm trying to make it just sort of symmetrical and sort of nice looking. Really, that's one of my goals with a lot of my factory builds. Really, just making it look nice more than functional all the time. Though this is functional in the sense that we only need the one assembler providing the iron and only one chest providing the stone. So after working at that, I realised that I can make it slightly better if I just move up this iron line by a square, and then move up the inserter, the assembler. I'll get that right one day, and it gives a little bit of space for the unloading. First I have it going into one central one before I realised that's a terrible idea, because we've got 2 different kinds of items. So we put them in 2 separate ones, get the limits correct, and then we'll set it all up and off it goes. Nice and simple. Put the efficiency modules in, and that's all running fine. Everything's already going into provider chests, so the megatrain can pick it up whenever it needs to. At the moment, I think we still need to actually power the loading area for the megatrain. At the moment, because we're still messing about with things and the megatrain isn't going anywhere, I've just left that unpowered. Anyway, looking at the steel, it's not great. It's all going straight into the rails, and the rails are barely running because there's not very much coming through. So we probably want to look into setting up more production there. But for now, we'll sort out putting a bunch of stuff back into our inventory. We've still only got like 3 free slots, which isn't brilliant, but it's an improvement on like 1 or none. So anyway, we'll continue the lines on and start working on the next bit of production. And basically, we're working our way down the train right now. So the next thing along is ammo, and so we're going to make the armor-piercing shotgun and machine gun ammo, which just uses steel and copper. Fairly simple. Set up 2 inserters, assemblers. I'm not going to get that right one day. And we'll have long-armed inserters and fast inserters going into those. Getting those all made, get the modules in place, and then get those going into requested chests. Now, immediately I come into a problem because the the bots start trying to deliver me ammo, and it turns out I don't actually have enough room. Things have got messy again, so once again I put things into a chest. But this time just for a minute while I can actually sort things out and get things properly working with the bots and stuff. I just ended up with one less set of machine gun ammo than I requested. Though I don't know if there's really any point requesting 2 stacks of it at this point. I basically don't use it for shooting biters, only for loading guns. Speaking of guns, we've just had an attack over an iron outpost too, but thanks to my work a while ago with Operation Isengard, that place is very well fortified and is really not a problem. It can very easily fend for itself. I just need to check up on it every now and then to make sure that there's not too much damage going on, because well, actually I do have a logistics system set up there, but I can't remember if it's actually set up to sort out repairs and replacements. It may be. I'll check up on that next time I'm visiting, see how it's going. It's probably going to be fine anyway. I'm just sorting out a bit of coal there, getting it delivered into the train. Once again, looking at steel, and I'm really not happy with it, so what we're going to do is add on some more furnaces. So for now, we'll try 4 sets of steel-making furnaces. And by the way, the reason I have one furnace leading straight into another one is because even though you need 5 iron to make one steel steel plate, it actually works out that it takes 5 times as long to make a steel plate than an iron one. I'm sure that was intentional, because it means that it's a lot simpler to make steel production than it otherwise would be. Though usually I always end up making it the more fiddly way anyway, where I just have the steel taking the iron plates off a line. You don't really need that, because you can just bring in the iron ore and have it work like that. Anyway, back at the megatrain, working out stuff. I think I'm trying to just get rid of some of my inventory into there, because it's getting a bit of a pain having to repeatedly empty it out and fill it again. And anyway, the next thing we're going to work on is one of the use that we should have here for raw stone, which is making walls and also stone bricks, which we have the megatrain requesting. It doesn't really need them. The reason it requests them is in case it needs to make more walls, really. Though you can also make furnaces out of those, so it's good in that in some sort of emergency situation where I need to get something smelted for whatever reason. Though I do have furnaces on board, it would have to be a very complicated set of circumstances. But anyway, that is very easy to set up, though we end up with a weird situation where the inserter going into the assembler always has precedence. I think usually they're supposed to alternate, but I think it's something to do with one of them outputting into a sort of more important thing that actively wants stone bricks rather than just a provider chest that doesn't actually lead to anywhere that particularly wants bricks right now. Anyway, the next thing we're going to work on is engines. And for that we're going to need some, I think we need gears. We definitely need iron and steel. We need to turn the iron into batteries. Not batteries, iron into batteries. You need a couple more things to make batteries. I need to turn the iron into pipes. And then add steel and gears. And that'll all work out. I'm trying to get it to extract steel off the line here, but it really doesn't want to. Apparently it doesn't agree well with corners or splitters. And in the end I actually have to move it up in order to actually get the steel from anywhere on the line. It just gives a little more room to maneuver and make sure that we have plenty of space to put in the 2 different assemblers that we need. So we get that all in place. We'll put a couple of underground belts in so that we're able to put in the long-armed inserter, get that going in, get the efficiency modules in place, and that's pretty much good. We just need to put an output going into another provider chest. And there we go, we've got engines being produced, which is good. There's plenty of stuff that we can make with that. And we'll probably even have parts of the factory requesting that themselves at some point in the future. So back over to the train for a second, because I'm going to grab yet more furnaces, because I've decided that we need more steel. I mean, we're already using up more to make the engines, and I think we need yet more if we want to get the rail production going up at a nice speed. So I'll rejig the system and just get it... basically just double the length of it and have it work the same way. So I'm messing about with the substations a bit, trying to work out where I can actually fit these in, because it's a little bit fiddly. In the end I just decide to have some underground belts to make proper room for them. I could have planned it a little bit better, I guess, so I don't know. But it works fine. And that's all good. So we get the ore connected up, get all of the modules in, And that's good, and we're pretty much done for today. We'll just resupply our modules, and probably have another quick look around at things. But yeah, we've got a few different things being produced. We've got a bunch of steel going now, and also some bits of specific production coming along, and we'll continue to work on this in future episodes. So I shall say goodbye, thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.